Would you believe me if I told you that working at KFC can be a dangerous job that can cost you your life? I know, it seems ridiculous, and I think it's ridiculous too, but when you think about it, you realize that most jobs are not dangerous. It's the people in them. It's something I understood after my time at KFC, where if my attacker didn't like me, I would have ended up just as my boss. It all started when Charlie started working. Even though I was just another employee in the kitchen, I interviewed him and recommended him. Charlie was a young man, very dedicated and eager to work. I remember I was struck by how he dreamed of working at KFC. He seemed obsessive, as if it was the dream of his life. Although I found it quite creepy, I didn't think it was an impediment for him to work here. I might even say it's a good thing. When Charlie started working, I knew I had made the right decision. The guy was punctual, efficient, and responsible. He even made me proud of my decision. But after a few months, everything changed. His behavior was erratic. He was still working very well, but his appearance was getting worse and worse. Sometimes he would arrive very late, but other times he would arrive hours early and just sit there, doing nothing. Initiating conversations with him was becoming more and more difficult. I couldn't help the feeling that he wasn't paying attention to me, that he was disoriented, thinking about something else. One day, my boss came looking for me to talk to him.
Ace, did you need to talk to me?
Come on in, Wendy. We have a little problem that I need your help with.
Charlie, right?
Yes, it's out of control.
Of course. It's the late arrivals, isn't it?
I'd like to say yes, Wendy, but it's much more serious than that. In the last few days, we noticed that some food was missing from some orders, and coincidentally, he was disappearing from his station. When one of your co-workers went looking for him, she found him hiding, eating the chicken pieces. It wasn't even hunger, Wendy. He just ate the skin and threw the chicken away like garbage. When he left, he didn't even bother to hide the evidence.
Oh my God! What's wrong with him? You want me to talk to him, don't you?
No, we've given him enough chances. I'm gonna kick him out, Wendy.
Oh, I understand, Ace.
I just called you here to let you know that even though you hired Charlie, this is not your fault at all. In the beginning, he was a great candidate, and you trained him well. You just can't know what you'll be dealing with after a few months.
I understand, Ace. Thanks so much for telling me. Do you need help telling him?
No, you can imagine I've done this many times before. Besides, I know you like him, but I wouldn't want you to get involved even for now. To tell you the truth, Wendy, I'm very angry, and I'm not going to treat him very well.
As I left the office, I saw Charlie walk past me, looking a little lost. With some pity, I stopped and greeted him.
Hey, Charlie, you're a good friend.
Thank you.
And without looking at me, knowing what to expect, he kept walking. I assumed this meeting would be short, but it was not. Many minutes passed and no one came out of the office. We all began to wonder what was taking so long. After 2 hours, the situation became untenable. Something strange was going on. None of my coworkers wanted to go in, so I, being the one who has the best relationship with the boss and Charlie, went in to ask a random question. As soon as I walked in, my head was filled with doubts. The office was empty. But something was wrong. No one had left, and Ace's cell phone was still on the desk. I got a little closer, and when I understood what was going on, I gave a scream in alarm.
Oh!
Ace's body was already on the floor, full of blood. There were marks on his neck as if he had been strangled. But what caught my attention the most was his skin. It was like if someone had ripped it off. Many pieces of skin were missing from his arms, legs, and even his abdomen. Had Charlie done this? I turned to run away, but behind the door and avoiding my exit, he was there. Standing there, looking at me in expectation of what I might do.
What have you done, Charlie? Have you gone crazy?
His hands were covered in blood and sweat. He had taken off all of his clothes, leaving only his underwear. and what scared me the most was his face. He had a maniacal smile. He was happy like the day he started working at KFC. It was like he had won the lottery.
Wendy, did you know that the skin is tastier than the meat? I always wanted to work at KFC. Imagine being able to eat all the skin you want. Isn't it a treat?
Charlie, they'll put you in jail. How did you do something like that?
I'm sick of being judged. Sick of everyone looking down on me. Sick of always being the weird one. Do you think I'm weird too, Wendy?
With all this violence, Charlie started digging his nails into my arm, bringing his mouth close, ready to moderate me. I gave him a sharp punch in the ear, which temporarily drove him away. I ran for the exit door, but fell back down. Charlie was grabbing my foot.
How does he dare to fire me? No one fires me from KFC.
This man was about to devour me, and there was nothing I could do. Physical violence was not a solution, so I settled my thoughts and tried to defeat him the only way I knew I could win.
But, Charlie, you killed the boss. That makes me the boss, and I don't want to kick you out.
Suddenly, his anger subsided and turned to surprise.
What?
You're a great employee. You really want to work here, and that's what's important. You just need to come in earlier, okay?
Oh, I'm sorry I'm running a little late. So you won't fire me?
No. And if you come in earlier, you'll be the employee of the month. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yes. Thanks, Wendy. You're a great friend. I promise to be more punctual.
Great. Hey, can you go back to the kitchen? We're a little short-staffed.
Oh, sure. The employee of the month will do his best.
And desperate, Charlie opened the door and ran out. I locked the door, and as I began to hear the screams of all my coworkers at the sight of him, I called the police as fast as I could. It wasn't long before the police took him away. His screams were heard throughout the establishment, and as customers took pictures or left, Charlie could only look at me. That same day, I also went to the police station to testify about what I had seen. Soon after, this began to be reported in the media in our country. Apparently, Charlie came from a family of psychopaths, so they used him to find his parents, two serial killers on the run. On his side, he managed to avoid going to prison. Charlie was sent to a psychiatric hospital where he would get the help he needed. I will never know if he will ever get better. I quit within a week and never wanted to hear about the case again. Honestly, I had more Charlie and KFC than I could take.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the video. If so, please leave a like. And also, a small percentage of people that watch my videos are actually subscribed. If you want to support this channel and make this channel reach the 1 million mark, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can change your mind later. Enjoy.
A few years ago, when I was in my mid-20s, I was working at my job as a manager at KFC. It was a slow afternoon, and we only had one order. A middle-aged man was standing next to the counter. I went over and handed him his tray. The man stuck out his hand and suddenly asked,
How much does a polar bear weigh?
Sorry?
I had heard this line before, and internally groaned.
Enough to break the ice. Hi, I'm Barry. You must be...
He leaned close, looking at my name tag, which made me pretty uncomfortable.
Tatiana. Did I read it right?
Yes. I have to get back to work now.
I smiled and turned away.
Wait!
The man said loudly. I turned back towards him, trying my best to keep my smile in place. I'd had enough creepers in my day to know one when I saw him. He had too much confidence, and he wasn't even all that attractive looking. Still, he was going to go ahead with this, and I was at work, so I had to be nice.
Would you go on a date with me?
My mind started reeling with the possibility to reject him. I didn't see it coming straight like that, so I tried to come up with a reasonable rejection. Should I say that I have a boyfriend? Or I'm a lesbian? I just didn't want to date some strange guy I never saw before in my life.
Not right now. Enjoy your food, Barry.
I ended up stumbling out, still trying to be polite and get him away from me. He wouldn't take no for an answer. I kept saying it, and eventually, a few more customers walked in, giving me a chance to end the conversation with creepy Barry.
Just give me your number so I can get back to you if you change your mind.
I have to go now. Bye.
I said, turning away and just leaving him standing there, trying to call me back. One of my employees asked if I knew him.
Nope. Never seen him before. I hope he never comes back.
If only that hope could come true. Shortly after the incident, I started working nights for extra pay. During the nighttime, only the drive-thru was open, so no guests were inside. It was kind of nice working those shifts, if it wasn't for Barry. For the next few weeks, this man kept coming through my drive-thru, bringing me things. Like a rose, a box of chocolates. I kept turning down his advances the best way I could. I'm not all that forceful of a person, but there are only so many ways you can say no. He also kept calling the store at all shifts to see if I was there. He would not leave me alone. And I'm not lying about me rejecting him constantly. I kept telling him I did not want to date him. He still kept coming back. I can't tell you how much he just creeped me out either. One night when I was driving home from work, I saw his car behind me. He flickered his headlights, gesturing for me to stop. I freaked out. Why is he following me? There's no way I can drive home now, or else this creep will know where I live. So, I increased my speed to dodge and confuse him. I took the highway, and Barry was still behind. He began honking his horn like crazy. My hands were numb, and I felt that I would crash as I was going at a high speed. There was no other car to whom I could ask for help. Suddenly, I spotted this cop car patrolling from the other side, and I intentionally increased my speed even more so that he could follow me. My plan worked, and the cop took a quick U-turn and followed me. Barry by then realized that I wasn't alone anymore, so he drove past me. When his car crossed over me, I saw his face. He gave me a death stare for tricking him. Once he was gone, I pulled over the car and told the cops everything. They escorted me home safely. It was hard for me to fall asleep that night. I could only imagine Barry's creepy face staring at me from the window. I even had a nightmare that Barry was watching me sleep standing next to my bed. The next morning, I decided to put an end to this. Barry came through my drive-thru again. Yes, he was one tough mother kicker, and I had finally had enough. In front of all the customers and employees of KFC, I screamed at him before he could even open his mouth.
Barry, I will never date you. Never. Please leave me alone. Do not mistake this for me being coy or something. I do not like you. Leave me alone.
The hurt on his face was apparent.
Really?
He asked, like he never thought he could get rejected.
Yes, really. And if you ever follow me or try to come near me, I will call the cops on you. I already told them about you last night, so you better watch out. Bloody creep.
I let it all out and walked away. It was getting to the point where I wanted to call the cops on him, although it was doubtful they'd do anything since he wasn't violent or anything against me. Barry shook his head down and left the KFC outlet. When I thought it was all over, life shocked me. Sometime later that night, Barry again pulled up to the drive-thru. I heard his voice through the speaker again.
Tatiana, I need to tell you something.
He pulled up to the window. I refused to even go near it, and one of my male employees spoke with him. The male employee gave me a letter when Barry pulled away. I opened the letter, and it was a card. Inside was written,
Tatiana, you have the prettiest eyes I have ever seen. I would like to put them in a jar on my desk so I can look at them all day.
I finally called the cops on him, and later got a restraining order. I changed my address and my job. I had to, or else I wouldn't have felt safe. I still don't. Whenever I drive home alone, I keep watching over my shoulder if any car is following me. So far, I haven't even seen Barry after that incident, and I hope I never do. I am now living in a different place where everything is a new experience. You might think that's amazing, but the thing is, sometimes what other people consider normal is terrifying to me. I have always been a calm man. In fact, I didn't think that my attitude could ever change. But during the time that I lived in the big city, I began to suffer from anxiety attacks. It was all just too unsettling for me. So, to improve my state of health, I decided to move to a place that would keep me relaxed, just as the doctors recommended. I chose a small town in the countryside, since I had the opportunity to work at the KFC there. I was like, a KFC? There? In the middle of nowhere? But I was even more surprised to find out that it was the only fast food restaurant in town. Anyway, time passed faster than I expected, and my first day of work soon arrived. The KFC seemed to be quite different from the others. Instead of that usual modern appearance, it was cozier, or at least that's what it intended, because the dark wood took away the light and made it look like a very old building. Without waiting any longer, I went inside, but I wasn't really prepared for what I was going to find in front of me. It had been a long time since I came across something like that at a KFC, but even I could say that I had never seen it before, since this statue of Colonel Sanders was different. It was made of metal. Time had already deteriorated it a bit, so it was stained gold in some areas.
Pretty impressive, don't you think?
I just nodded, although my thoughts indicated the opposite.
You must be Jim, right?
I soon found out that only 2 other people were working there. My new coworkers, Steven and Rebecca. They kindly showed me the place. Don't get me wrong, everything was clean, but the darkness and intense heat made me feel like I was in a giant oven. It just wasn't what I would expect from a fast food restaurant at all. When it was time for the preparation of the food to be explained to me, Steven asked me,
You've worked at KFC before, haven't you? Yeah, not too long ago. In fact, that's why I feel quite relaxed.
But you aren't in the city right now, are you?
Rebecca's comment left me silent for a few seconds.
No, of course not. Why do you ask?
In case you haven't noticed, we do things differently around here.
Well, I'm sure I can adapt easily.
I'm not so sure anymore.
Relax, Rebecca. Let's talk about this, okay?
My 2 coworkers went to the kitchen so they could discuss who knows what in privacy. I was willing to adapt, to do new things, so I didn't understand what their problem was. Everything was too lonely. When were the clients supposed to arrive? It seemed as if it were midnight.
Chop. Hey!
I was still alone in that place, even though I could have sworn that.
Jim, come here please.
I took one more look around before entering the kitchen.
Look, like Rebecca was telling you, we do things a little different around here. You know? Yeah, sure.
We love KFC, but not just any KFC. We love our KFC because we love the way Colonel Sanders prepares food.
So, you are traditional, right? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, yes. We make the bread, we grow the vegetables for the salad, and...
We're gonna show you, okay?
I nodded and followed them through the store until we got to a door that I hadn't seen before.
Another room? Why didn't you show it to me before? We had to explain.
The moment Rebecca opened the door and I began to hear the chickens cackling, a chill ran down my spine. It can't be, can it? I thought. From inside the room, the 2 of them waved to invite me, so I entered.
I'll teach you.
Then, I started to hear a chicken making a lot of noise, and I realized what was happening. Rebecca was holding the animal's neck in her hands. Everything was happening too fast.
Wait!
Right in front of me, she snapped the animal's neck. I remained still, thinking.
It's not difficult.
After Steven's comment, Rebecca put the chicken's corpse on the table.
See, we have to do everything. That's the only way to make fried chicken as delicious as Colonel Sanders used to make. Believe me.
Steven's smiling, blood-splattered face disturbed me so much that I had to leave the room.
Jim? I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna kill a chicken.
See, this is what I meant. City dwellers are hypocrites. They eat them, but they can't kill them.
You have to do it, Jim. No, I don't have to. You can take care of that.
Colonel Sanders will be upset.
I'll go take a breath.
The next few days, I continued to work while I decided what to do. All I wanted was to be calm, but they wouldn't stop putting pressure on me. Do it, do it, do it, they insisted. Help, help, help. The pressure and the nerves had exhausted me. I had the impression that since I wasn't doing that part of the job, I would be given a lot more responsibilities, like staying late to close.
Cha,
There couldn't be another client, not at that hour.
Cha, you have to.
I examined every corner of the room. I had a bad feeling, but nothing was there.
It's an order.
I'm just too tired, I thought. I made my way to the entrance and put my hand over the switch to turn off the light. But first, I took a quick look at the statue. In that instant, I felt a strong pressure on my chest due to how shocked and terrified I was. Colonel Sanders looked upset, but he was also smiling. It was the expression of a total psychopath, but it wasn't just that. It seemed that he had done what I didn't want to do, since his hands and arms were covered in blood. Unconsciously, I turned off the light and everything was pitch black until I had the courage to turn it back on. But the statue was in its usual position. It didn't take me long to finish what I had to do and get out of there. I was terrified. I couldn't believe I was so out of my mind. When I got home, I took a shower and went to sleep, thinking that would help me.
Chop. Huh?
Suddenly, I felt as if something was going through my throat and letting all the blood out.
Let me chop it!
The statue was there, right in front of me. I watched as he, once again, brought the knife to my throat before I lost consciousness.
Ah!
That nightmare had been so real that I could still feel the pain in my throat, but I decided to ignore it and went to KFC, determined to quit.
Good morning, Jim. You look great.
Now that he mentioned it, I noticed that I had a lot of energy, not like the days before.
Just like yesterday. You did a good job, by the way.
You think so? Of course. You chop those necks like a pro. I can even imagine that's how Colonel Sanders used to do it.
Apparently, I had a gap in my memories. How could I have done that yesterday?